Axcess Capital's group or here because of your relationship with him. I want to welcome you guys. If you don't know who I am, my name is Guy Bouchard and I'm the president of Top Down Investments. And TDI and Axcess Capital have partnered for the first time on this project specifically to have a public offering that is expanding our network and giving more people the opportunity to get involved in some of the things that we're doing here on Vancouver Island. But Klint and I have been flirting for many years. We've been talking for probably 3 to 5 years now. We met a long time ago and he's watched me come up and I've watched a lot of the things he's been involved in, and naturally our paths have crossed because we are in the same industry, albeit in different sides. I'm an operator and a deal maker putting investments together, and Klint is on the money side, making sure that everything is regulated properly and that people are investing their money into the right place and doing it with the right people, or at least doing the best job that he can to make sure all those things are happening. So this is a great night for us tonight to be able to work together and to be doing this. And this is the first of many projects that we hope to be working on. And so Axcess Capital's got their own disclaimer here. It's pretty standard stuff. I'm not going to read it out because, like I said, this is being recorded. You can pause and review this as you need, but it's all the standard things because we have all the same stuff I'm about to say for Top Down Investments. This webinar is for informational purposes only. We are not providing any investment, taxation, or legal advice. You should get independent advice before entering into any investment, and I would recommend that for anything that you're doing, whether it's with us or otherwise. Results will vary deal to deal. We know that. And I know that personally. Past performance is not an indicator of future performance. All information presented is based on our personal experience, and real estate investing carries substantial levels of risk. And our job is to make sure that we're doing the best at mitigating those risks and controlling the uncontrolled variables to hopefully bring you a successful investment every single time. And that's your job to do that when you're getting involved. So who are our viewers? Our viewers, I like to throw this out at the beginning because, as is the case with any event, whether it be online or in person, you typically have two people that are viewing and looking for the information. First, those that are looking for the how-to instruction, which are the other operators out there that are looking to better their business and to build their business and to learn some of the things that are happening out there and learning from the professionals. And then second, it's those who are looking to invest into us and the deals that we are presenting. And it doesn't matter to us which one you are. We love both. We got nothing to hide and everything to share. And it's what separates us from the other guys, I'd like to say. I don't see a lot of people in our business out there promoting the real nitty-gritty aspects of what it takes to do the job that we're doing. And we do that for two reasons. And it's because people need to know what we're going through. They need to know the ins and outs of a deal to fully understand it. And we're also on the educational side of trying to help build and promote other people's success. It's a big part of what we do. So sharing the process, it checks all the boxes for us. And I just want to let you guys know, again, just another reminder that if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat, and we will get to them at the end. We got a lot of people in the background here. And also, I just wanted to let you know, I don't take enough time to thank my team, and my team takes so much time and effort to put these things together. And it may look like I'm just standing here in front of a camera by myself, but it's not like that at all. We put a lot of time and energy into making this work, and I just hope you guys find some value. So, your speaker, of course, I've already introduced myself. I'm Guy Bouchard, and I come from humble beginnings. That's pretty much, this stuff talks about the squeeze version of my life, but as you can imagine, it's not that simple. I'm 39 years old. I'm a husband and a father of 4 crazy kids. I built and sold my welding company. That's where my roots are. I'm a welder by trade, started at a very young age. I founded a company in 2011 in the Lower Mainland, and I've since sold that company and transitioned into full-time real estate development. And about 6 years ago, I founded Top Down Investments. And my team and I have raised a ton of equity since then, and we've gained a ton of experience renovating apartment buildings and acquiring land development opportunities. And we've been able to build a large real estate portfolio that includes stabilized multifamily, single family, commercial, and land development properties. And I'm excited to say that we've got a lot of active deals, and this is one of them that is furthest down the line. We've been working on this for a couple of years. So tonight you're going to get a deep dive into one of the deals that we are involved in, and there are many more to come, but this is the exciting one that we're talking about. So I always like to talk about where it all started, because whether you're a first-time investor or you're a long-time investor, you know the path that it takes for us to get here. And I want to share this story not only to show a little bit of, or share a little bit about that path, but also just why I believe in real estate. And this is the very first deal that I ever did. This is a house in Mission, British Columbia. When I was younger, I hated school. I grew up poor. They had a registered apprenticeship program in Alberta that allowed me to actually start working at a very young age when I was 14 years old. And being able to work in school and work towards a registered apprenticeship program, it actually it enabled me to miss half of the year of school to do the work. And also I was getting paid really good money considering the age I was. So it took care of the two biggest issues in my life. And I was really happy and fortunate that I did that. And during that time, I hung out with my dad and his friends. And like I said, we didn't have much money at the time. And there was one common theme between all of the conversations that I had. And it was that if they could change one thing in their life, they would have bought real estate. They would have bought a house. And that was a light bulb that went off for me at that time. And it just sort of resonated with me. And I'm just like, man, why would they say that? Like, the one thing they would do is buy a house. And I just knew that that's not where I wanted my life to go. I didn't want to be 40, 50 years old talking about, man, I wish I would have. And like I said, escaping the grips of the school system and the scales of life, I wanted to have some freedom and flexibility. So I had it in my head at a very young age to go and buy my first piece of real estate. And when I was 21 years old after school, I had a really good friend of mine. I talked to him. He saved some money. I had some money, and I went to him and I asked him, I said, man, you want to buy a house? And he looked at me like I was crazy, because, you know, back then real estate wasn't as well known, and it definitely wasn't as popular for young people to be getting into it. And it seemed a lot riskier. But lo and behold, I got a call from his parents, and they sat me down for dinner, and they're like, hey, why are you trying to talk our kid into giving you money? And I explained to them, I said, look, I've been with my dad since a very young age. We haven't had money. He's always talked about real estate would have been the thing that changed his life. And I just think it's a great investment. And I think if we can get started now, you know, why not? We both got money to be able to do that. And I explained the plan, and they soaked it up. And at that meeting, they turned to me and they said, you know what, we really like what you have to hear, or we like hearing what you have to say, pardon me. And we support you. We support this. We want to be involved in the decision making, because of course you're taking our son's life savings. And I of course agreed, and off we went. And at the same time, I was actually, little did I know, I was structuring my first partnership. I was in the private equity game and I didn't even know it. I was sitting with my best friend at a table with his parents and talking to them about opening their pockets and putting money into the deal. And I was obviously putting money in there, but I was going to be the sweat equity partner, and I was going to live in the house and do all these amazing things. And I'm really happy to say we made that decision. And why this is so important is because over a span of 10 years, I bought two properties, that one, and we bought one on the next year, but I didn't buy anything for 10 years. And 10 years went by, and I stopped buying real estate, and I started focusing on my welding company, or my welding, trade. And I started my welding company. I was working independently. I was traveling all over the country, and I was doing a whole bunch of things to try and generate income and build wealth. And all the time that went by, I looked back, and I was able to refinance my house at certain times. And obviously it continued to go up in value, and we continued to pay down the mortgage. And at the end of the day, over that 10-year span, for the time and money that I invested into this one property that you're looking at on this slide, it paid me by far a higher net return than anything else that I had spent my time in that combined 10 years. And the only thing I did was talk to my partner, put a legal structure together, buy a house, and live in it. And that's pretty much all I did. And that thing generated me hundreds of thousands of dollars, me and my partner, of basically tax-free money, because there was no capital gains, because we were living in the property at the time. And that was where my light bulb went off again in my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, where I said, man, you know, something's got to change here. And lo and behold, we started top-down investments, and here we are. So I truly believe it's a part of our DNA, and I don't just pitch this because it's my business. I pitch this because I believe in it wholeheartedly, and I invest my entire life in it, and I'm teaching other people to do the same. So who and what is TDI? We are a development company, and we partner with equity partners, and we are the operators. And we work with the private equity sector to go and acquire real estate, and we focus on value add opportunities so that we can build our real estate portfolio and ultimately build a legacy for us and our partners across the board. When we started our business, we started in the renovating apartment buildings, and we were revitalizing old apartment buildings, and that was really good at the time, and it was really cool. But as everybody knows, the regulations and the costs have changed quite a bit since then. And what it started to do was it started to change the dynamic of the business we were in. And when people have places to go and have housing that they can go and select and go and choose anywhere they want, well then, renovating and moving people out for renovations isn't a big deal because they have choices. But what started to happen over the last few years was the housing crisis really started to sink in, and that really started to change our perspective as a company of what kind of business we want to be involved in. And we made some really great moves and built our business on renovating apartment buildings, but I started to make a change a few years ago because I didn't like the path we were on. I wanted to create solutions, not cause problems. And so that's when we really started to dive deep into the development and started acquiring land so that we could do ground up development. And we weren't forcing anybody out of their homes. We were creating homes, and that's what we're doing today. And so that really aligns with our core values and who we want to be. And so we've transitioned pretty much fully into the land development. We've still got stabilized apartment buildings, of course, the ones that we worked on, and we'll acquire more in the future. But right now our focus is on building communities. And we're a very transparent organization, and I like the way that we do business because it shows people who we are, and we want to continue doing that for the rest of the time that we're in business. So our core values. Our core values are to create and generate win-win-win real estate investments. That's a win for us, that's a win for our investors, and it's a win for the people that are affected and impacted by the business we're in. And that is the tenants, that is communities, that's home buyers, and it's every single person that is involved in the transaction. If there is not a win-win-win solution in a deal that we're involved in, we just won't get involved with it. And our statement is to connect good people with great deals, and that's exactly what that means to us. Our vision is to become the most respected developer on Vancouver Island. And what does that mean? It's one thing to say that you're an ethical developer and you do right by people, but to actually put that statement out there and to say that we want to be the most respected developer anywhere means a lot, and that carries a lot of responsibility with that, and we know that, and we accept that. And you have to be good to people, and you have to make good decisions, and you have to not only do it over a short period of time, you have to do it forever. And that reputation can be ruined overnight, like anybody's. And so we want to spend the time and the energy to really build up to that status and maintain that status, like I said, for the rest of the time that we're in business. And why Vancouver Island? Well, because we think it's one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. It's what we call home. We've moved our family and our lives here and our business. Every single person that's connected with us has moved here and committed to the cause. And everybody says sustainable, but what does that mean? We want to build sustainable communities and sustainable housing and provide solutions for the crisis we find ourselves today. And we add value to all of our relationships by teaching people about what we do, and we want to provide access to investments that people wouldn't otherwise have access to. And so that's kind of our story. That's a bit of the background. It's why I believe and why we believe as an organization that these are important investments, and this is not just lip service. You guys will find out in a very short amount of time of doing business with us that this is who we are, in and out. So this slide says it all for us. It's one of our favorite slides. And it's probably going to be in every single presentation that we do because it's been around forever, and it sums up exactly why we do what we do. Mark Twain said it the best. Buy land, they're not making it anymore. And that couldn't be truer where we are. Every single person wants to be here. where we are, and there's a limited amount of land, and the values historically continue to rise, and you've never seen that change from the beginning of time. You definitely see it change in short amounts of time. If you want to take segments of any kind of market at any particular time, of course, you're going to see ups and downs all throughout it. But if you take the time frame that real estate has been around and people have been clocking the investments, it has never gone down over that amount of time. So it's also the greatest source of wealth accumulation in history. Every single person who has great wealth in this world owns real estate in some way, shape, or form. And it also allows you to leverage the money from the banks and from lenders out there so that you can use it to go and buy more assets that are going to generate more wealth. And so it gives you leverage. When you go to the bank with nothing, they give you nothing. When you go there with something to give, i.e. leverage, then they give you more money based on that leverage. And then you can utilize that wisely to go and reinvest. And it's just what we do, and we want to share our skill. We're good with what we do. We are good at what we do, and we want to share that with everybody that's watching, and that's why we're here. And not only do we talk about it, of course, we put our money where our mouth is. And here are some of those deals that we are involved in. The one on the top left of your screen with the orange boxes, these are 4 active projects. One in the top left is what we're going to talk about today. That's our Price Place land assembly. The one in the top right corner of the screen is a 14-acre development site that we own in Nanaimo, South Nanaimo. That's a residential site that is in the OCP for medium to high density. We fully intend to be rezoning the project and the property to the medium and high density. The bottom left of your screen, that is a 6-acre industrial site that is right beside the other 14-acre site I just told you about. That's a 6-acre industrial site that's already zoned, where the plan is in place right now to be for a development permit application for about 150 to 200,000 square feet of industrial space in an area that really, really needs it. And then on the bottom right there is another property that we have not closed on yet. We are going to be closing on that November 31st of this year. We've been working on that steadily throughout the year here. That is a 150-acre subdivision site that is currently zoned for 2.5-acre lots, but we are in the process of filing an application to rezone that to 70 half-acre lots. And again, the area needs it. It's very sought after. It's actually minutes away from where my property and my principal residence is, so I know the area very well. It's just 10 minutes outside of the downtown core of Duncan, which is where people are moving to because it's a quieter, more enjoyable lifestyle, closer to the trails, the creeks, all that good stuff. You can dirt bike and golf cart all around there all you want. So projects that are in review, these are just some of the projects that we are taking a look at or actively involved in the due diligence stage. We've got one, which is that green one there, that white arrow. That's a 50-acre piece of lakefront property on Lake Cowichan, which is only 20 minutes west of downtown Duncan. It is one of the most, if not the fastest growing communities or resort communities on Vancouver Island, and people are going there in droves because it's beautiful, and we have that under contract. And on the top right is a 2-site property that we have under contract in Port Alberni. That's a 40,000 square foot 3-level hotel with a vacant lot on the other side of it. And I've got meetings with the city of Port Alberni next week. We think that's another really up and coming area. And then just below that is another project that we are talking to the owner about in the Cowichan Valley, about a future partnership that would change the entire landscape of development in the Cowichan Valley. And those are just some of the projects that we're involved in, and we're very excited about every single one. So to say that we got our fingers in a lot of pies here is an understatement, and this just shows you what the future of our company is going to look like. But for now, we are here to talk about Price Place, and we will be doing more presentations on other deals in the future, but you guys got to keep your ears open on this one because this one is going to get wrapped up very quickly, and I'll tell you about that. We've been raising capital on this all year. We've had some great momentum on it. But a couple of the things that we've just recently found out as it relates to the project and our company are going to mean that this project is not going to be on the table for very much longer. And it's a beautiful project, and I hope you guys agree. This is it. We've got a 5 residential land assembly happening on a street called Price Place. This is 5 key properties that actually make up the center of an area that is right about to be completely developed. We've been talking to the city about this for a couple of years. We've been targeting this for a couple of years. We started acquiring these properties in 2020, and we closed late 2020 and early 2021. Sorry, my timing's off there. We started acquiring them in 2021, pardon me, and then we opened this investment up in January of 2022, and we've been raising capital for this ever since. This is very close to the amenities. It is perfect for multi-building sites, multifamily building sites, and I will tell you what's around here, but what I'll do is just click through here because the next slide will show you, give you a much better indication. But just quickly, these properties are already zoned for medium density. They're already in the OCP for medium density, which means you can right now today already put 4-story buildings on them. And we are filing an application for rezone to get 6 stories, which is going to be the new standard in Duncan. It's not a stretch. It's not a what if, it's a when. And we'll talk a little bit more about this or that further down the slide as well. So here is a zoomed out shot of those projects, and you can see the orange squares there. And just to the right of the squares, you can see the edge of a building there, a long building. That's a 126 unit apartment building, which is just to the right or east of our sites. And then just to the left or just to the west, you've got a whole strip of commercial, but that is the Trans-Canada Highway there. That goes right through Duncan, and if you go south down that road, it's 45 minutes to Victoria, and if you go north on that road, it's 45 minutes to Nanaimo. And there's a lot of traffic that goes through that area, but most of the future development that you're going to see in Duncan is going to be right along this Trans-Canada Highway. And like I said, we have intel on the future OCP, and we'll share that with you as we move along. What else is happening is that because there's so much congestion and because the population is growing so rapidly, the Trans-Canada Highway is getting very plugged up. So to get through that road in rush hour is an absolute nightmare. It is considered island rush hour. It's not Toronto, it's not Vancouver, but during the 1 hour of time where there is traffic, that road is clogged, and it's clogged in both directions. And what they're trying to do is get traffic off of that highway because there's so many people coming and going these days. And that red line represents a road that the city of Duncan is planning to put through as a main artery to start decongesting the highway. And as you can see, that goes right up through where we have our buildings, right up to Price Place. That green square there is all going to be future development for brand new commercial, and the yellow square represents where the Ramada land is. We were looking at that a couple of years ago, but the timing just wasn't right, and there was a couple of things we needed to work through first, so we moved past that. But we know that they're working on their own plan for there. And just north of that, those blue squares on your screen, that is a city/BC Housing purchased land that just got closed last year. We know that BC Housing is going to be developing there. We're not exactly sure what, but not only is the city going to get their road out of it, but BC Housing is going to have a site where they can put some high density and start to provide more housing for them as well. And you know, when they're active in the area, there's problems to solve, and it's specifically related to housing. But if you combine all of those squares together, that is all information that I have personally gone out and gotten from the owners and the city and the people surrounding, based on the conversations that I've sat and had belly to belly with every single one of them. So this is not just information we pulled off the internet. This is information that me and my team have assembled and put together to let you guys know that we know exactly what we're talking about when it comes to this area and our development. And the area. So let's talk about Duncan. I just told you that if you went north, you're 45 minutes away from Nanaimo. This says 35, depending on what part of Nanaimo. 35 gets you to the very southern tip, but either way, you're 30 to 40 minutes away. And the same thing, you go south, you're in Victoria. So Not only is this a very dense growing community here, but it's also a hub and sort of a commuter town for those two places as well, because it's got a lot more space to expand, and it's a traditionally more affordable, so people are coming here, and of course I don't think they're ever going to leave. We've got substantial population growth in the recent years. You can see the numbers here. It just continues to rise. Everybody knows, you don't have to explain the COVID effect, but it has obviously had an impact here because this is where people are going to. They're leaving the cores of major cities to get to the suburb communities, and Duncan is one of those suburb communities, and it's one of the most beautiful in my opinion. Vancouver Island is full of them, but people can only go so far. They still have to be close to where the shops are and where the businesses are. And that's what this place has to offer. And Duncan has all of that. So when you talk about development, when you talk about where you're going to make major decisions, you got to follow the trends. You got to follow where people are investing money. And a master global marketer once told me, show me the energy and I'll show you a successful development. And it just so happens that that guy I'm talking about has become one of our main partners in some of our major developments that I showed you on the screen earlier. But this is a gentleman who knows his stuff. And when you talk about the energy, you talk about why are people coming to an area? What is driving them? Where are the jobs going to be? Where is the infrastructure being built? Look on your screen and it pretty much answers every single one of those questions. You've got a brand new RCMP detachment that is 4 minutes up the road from the Price Place Land Assembly. That project, I've been watching it built since I got here. When I looked at it, it was farmland. When I first got here, it was farmland. And now you've got a building that I would say is probably about maybe 70 to 80% complete. It's going to be ready soon, and they're well on their way. That's going to bring massive jobs. You've got a new secondary school that's right on the side of the highway. That's actually closer to the Price Place Land Assembly than the RCMP station. It's about halfway. It's right in the sort of downtown core, if you will, area of Duncan. And it's an $82 million project, and it's already happening. It's already being built right now. And that's because they're bursting at the seams with the school that they have currently. And then you've got a brand new hospital. They do not put hospitals there in places where there isn't going to be growth. And again, their existing hospital is bursting at the seams. They just can't fit any more people, any more staff in there. And they're spending almost $1 billion. And you know darn well that a estimated value of a project is going to have overages, and that project is going to be over $1 billion by the time it's done. They are just starting to put shovels in the ground right now. These things are major indicators that the investment is needed in this area, and they already don't have housing. And we need to create more. We need to create more fast. So that's where that's at. Housing realities, the same not so old story is a lack of housing. And that lack of housing is coming from densification, and it's coming from population increase. And that is this place is no exception. Vacancy rates are floating around 1%, less than 1%. You go online, you try and find a place to stay. Good luck. You'll find about maybe 1 or 2 places available at any given time, and you've got about 30 to 50 wanted ads right behind that looking for those places, and they're gone. And most people don't even get a call back when you're calling for an application. And we're talking good applicants. And that's been happening for the last couple of years across the board, and specifically here. Rents have escalated rapidly, 30% plus in the last 12 months. That's a blanket statement, but they're skyrocketing. Again, it's because of supply. It's going to drive up that demand for sure. Property values are up. Last year, the assessments, I think it was like a 40% across Vancouver Island that everything went up. And although things have sort of calmed down a little bit in that neck of the woods, and we're starting to see a little bit of slowdown in the general market, there's a little bit more time in between when you make an offer and when you close. But but that has no effect on the housing because people still don't have places to stay. How more buildings didn't just get built in the past couple of months. The same issues still exist and they'll continue to exist. There are very few projects in the works. We know that there's a lot of conversations and there's a lot of talks about projects up and coming, but we've also just found out recently in this particular area that a couple of the buildings that did get built, they actually had structural issues. And so that had a major impact on the area because here you got 70, 80 unit buildings, two of them now that we know about. They're anticipated to hit the market. One of them actually filled up with people, and then they had engineering problems and had to kick everybody out of the building. They're gone. Like, hey guys, sir, you can't live here anymore. Boom. So right when 80 people think they have homes, you've got them displaced into a market where there literally isn't anywhere for them to go. And to be perfectly frank, I don't actually even know what happened to the tenants. And now that I'm even saying it out loud, I want to dig a little bit more into what happened, because in a community like this, it just can't happen. And another building, and unfortunately by the same developer, I just found out today, has already been flagged for engineering issues. It's supposed to take occupancy in 2 to 4 weeks, and they can't take occupancy. And those are a couple of the major buildings that needed to be full with people, and they're not. And so it's just worsening the problem. And I'm not knocking anything to do with the project. I'm just expressing how much of an urgent issue there is for housing in this area. And yeah, recent inventory has been exclusively rental. Buildings have been leased very quickly. So the news story, the old story is housing is an issue. It's been like that for the last 3 to 5 years. The news story is Vancouver Island. 5 years ago, there was no real push for people to want to be on Vancouver Island. It was a tertiary market and it got treated like a tertiary market. Post-COVID, everybody wants to be here. And these communities are expanding at a rapid rate, and if we can be successful at densifying the right areas while maintaining quality of life here, I think there's going to be a very successful future for the communities, and it's going to be a great place for all of us to be as well, and it's a great place to live, and that's what my next slide is here. Location, location, location. It's a small town feel with all of the essentials. It's a great place to be spending time with your family. I've moved here with my kids, with my 4 kids, where I plan to be here for a very long time. You've got amenities that are all within walking distance, which I haven't been able to say for a very, very long time. It's vibrant, it's a tight-knit family feel. 10 minutes away, you've got no street lights and you've got farm stands, which is fantastic because you've still got, good-natured, wholehearted people that are still growing food and feeding the communities. And they've got in downtown Duncan, one of our staff, one of the best things to do on the Saturday is a farmers market, and that's the whole community coming together, spending time together. It's just a great feel. And it's also where I live. And if that doesn't say enough about it, I don't know what will, but we're here to stay, and we support the area in a big way. Oceans, lakes, mountains, trails, you got it. It's all here. So nearby amenities. So we've got, this is the map of Duncan blown out even more. This is, of course, this isn't quite the whole thing, but to be perfectly honest, what I wanted to talk about is the size of Duncan. So this does actually, it almost represents Duncan as far as the city. Now, if you, the main road that's cutting across, I don't know if you guys can see it, but Trunk Road goes it goes horizontal, and it goes from east to west across your screen from left to right. And then it comes down the Trans-Canada Highway there with the green flags. The bottom, everything on the bottom corner, the bottom left there, is actually not in the city of Duncan itself, and everything else up and to the left of that is the city of Duncan. It's only a couple of square kilometers, and if you search the population of Duncan, it only has 5,000 people because the actual boundaries of the city are extremely small, but it's surrounded by the Cowichan Valley, the CVRD and the District of North Cowichan, which make up the remainder of the population. The Cowichan Valley has a population of approximately 100,000. But why this is important, you'll see our orange markers on there for our buildings, and you can see the green in the top left of the screen. That's what they consider, that's what Duncan considers the downtown core. That's where you're going to find City Hall, all the shops, the downtown streets and all the shops that are happening. But Why this is so important to know is because the fact that they're sort of landlocked with a very small boundary means they have to think density. They have to think, what are they going to do with the land that they have? Where is it going to go? If it's not going to sprawl, it has to go up. So density is almost a given plan, and that's not just a given from my assessment. It's a given from the future of the OCP as well, which we've been working with the city long enough, and they've released their draft OCP, and the standard here is going to be 6 stories. So when we say we're going to be rezoning to 6, we truly believe it, and in our opinion, there's going to be no other result. And so you can see on the map, you got the Save On Foods, you got Superstore, you got London Drugs there, you got the banks, you got Shoppers Drug Mart, all walking distance. And to the north of that, up by the RCMP station that I was mentioning, that right beside there, which is a few minutes up the highway, you've got Walmart, you've got Home Depot, Canadian Tire, big storage facilities there. And of course, the up and coming RCMP detachment is going to start to bring a lot of new staff and energy into that area as well. But this is all minutes away, guys. This is not a huge city, and this is where the focus is, and we're right in the heart of it. Yeah, and then you got the winners and a couple other things are just clicking through. So step 1 with the business plan was always to purchase the properties, and this is all in our investment package that we've been sending out, and of course we'll send out if you guys want to know more about this project. But we've been acquiring these properties since November of 2021, and we finished getting everything under contract and or closing on them in February. That's when we released the this investment out to the public, and we closed on 3 of them. We control 2 of them, which means that those 2 that we control, one is owned by our staff that came here. They were the very first ones to come over here, and they bought that house as an anchor for this project. So we control that property. Of course, it's going to be vetted into the development. And then the other one that we have under control, we close on that in January. And that was just an extended closing that we were able to get just to give us more time and less cost. So that explains the 5 of them that we put together. Total purchase price of those properties, $4.1 million. The addresses are on there. And these are those properties today as you see them. And you can see in the background of those pictures, the 126 unit apartment building. So that was that gives you a great example, because that's a 4-story building that was built in the 70s. So to think that we're going to be going to 6 stories is not a stretch. We're not just slamming an apartment building where apartment buildings don't exist. That building is a very long, very tall building that totally supports our plan to go forward with our development. And like I said, we've had many conversations with the city, and we know that they're all on the same page as well. So the due diligence period has obviously been from when we started acquiring these properties, and that still continues to this day. Of course, we're well past the initial due diligence of the project, but we've had plenty of meetings with the city. We've been assembling our due diligence documents. We've been working with the consultants. We've done the geotechnical. We've done our surveys. We've worked with our architects. During that time, at the beginning of this project, of course, going from medium to high density was not necessarily a slam dunk, if you will, as it is never a slam dunk, but that was the direction we were heading in. During the due diligence, we were happy, of course, we were ecstatic to receive the draft OCP from the city of Duncan that actually had our properties already listed in the future high density region, which is fantastic. It meant that, they were probably listening to us, knew that we had the properties. It was also that to show us that, yes, they're supporting density, and it was showing that we were focused in the right areas. And so all of the stuff and all the due diligence we're looking at, or to get that all set up through the due diligence stage, approximately $150,000. So the business plan, step 3. So the rezoning process. So we've been working since April. So we've had to get a couple of the reports that the city required, but we've been working with them. We've already got our different renderings for different outcomes. We've got the traffic assessment and the parking assessment that the city required. We now are full steam ahead with getting our paperwork ready for the rezone, which is likely to happen within the next month or so. And we're planning to have a full-on rezoning / development permit application submitted this year, which will keep us on track, or should keep us on track, for our October 2023 deadline to have this fully rezoned and ready to go. During that time, there's going to be public engagement, and the holding costs and the costs for the architects and the fees are anticipated to be about $750,000. I'll run through the numbers a little bit after that as well. But we're working on the first conceptual plan right now, but we already have a very good idea what we're doing. We have 2 sites that are very likely going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 units each. We have a great relationship with an experienced builder, experienced architect. We've been working with them from the beginning, and the initial indications across the board are that there is full support from everybody. So the exit of this property. So step 4 on this plan is to exit. Now, when this is ready to exit and when we have this fully rezoned, we will of course be looking at what the market value of the property is at that time and possibly be looking to sell it off to a third or an arm's length party. The other option for the exit is that we might ultimately be putting together another investment structure for us to continue with the development of the project. But this phase of the project, I want to make very, very clear, has nothing to do with the construction. This is simply just the rezoning and the development permit approval for the building to be built. Once we know what the city's going to approve and what the town's going to approve and what they're going to support, then we know what we have, and what the value is anticipated to be is approximately $6.5 million for both of these sites by the time they're done. And so the numbers, pretty simple breakdown here. You've got 27,000 square feet on one site, almost 22,000 on the other one, gives us just over an acre of land there. The land cost on that is about 4.1, with the rezoning cost, if we go to the full term, approximately 880,000. That's going to cover the full, like I said, that's going to get us right to the DP approval. The only thing left to do at that point would be to get a building permit, which in the city of Duncan is almost the same thing. The paperwork that we have to submit to get a DP approved is very similar to that of a BP. So you'll pretty much be ready to build the site at that particular point. So not only are we going through the rezoning and just passing on a property with future value, we will have done most of the heavy lifting to get there. And sorry, I just wanted to back up on that. Capital required on this project is $3 million. We are sitting currently at 1.7 with a couple more in the queue. And we will have this completely raised in the next 30 to 60 days. Because we are wrapping this up this year, and it's going to be funded by the time we submit our development permit. That equity is used to cover approximately half of the land cost you see on the screen. The other half of the land cost, we're utilizing bank debt or private debt to leverage the rest of those properties, and the remainder is going to be on carrying costs and fees that would apply to the DP application. And that 24-month time frame started in January of this year. So coming into the project at this stage means that we've only got just under a year and a half left on this project. So this is where we're getting our valuations from. The per unit land value per buildable unit, we're anticipating to be $35,000 per unit. There is land in the area that is trading for less than $35,000, but that land is not DP ready. That is just raw land with none of the work completed that we are planning to do. And we know that these numbers are achievable because they are hitting these marks in certain areas that are relatable to this. The problem is, like I said before, there's not a lot of comparables because there hasn't been a lot of density in this area, and there hasn't been a lot of 6-story builds. In fact, the first 6-story building that's being built right now is the first in the downtown, second in the downtown core of Duncan. So again, post rezone value, 6.47. That's based on 185 units, approximately 90 units per site. And we're looking at a 36% return over that 2-year period, which is an 18% average return on your investment. And this deal, it has an 8% pref rate on it. So the first 8% of the profit goes directly to the investors, and then all the remaining profit is split 60% to the investors, 40% to the general partners. And so back to the draft OCP. So this was pending council, or this is pending council approval. They actually this was ready to be approved, but it was going to be approved about a week ago, but they kicked it back to the public, to the committee, just to get some more feedback and make sure that that they're finalizing, that they're getting this finalized in the right way. They've got high density, which is looking at 6 stories, which covers our east side. For the west side, there's a new gateway commercial that they're looking to put in. We are in conversations with them to keep ours as residential, but at the end of the day, we've got 6-story pretty much in the basket, all ready to go. We just have to get our design and everything submitted. The architectural work is already ready to go, and can't wait to release our first conceptual drawing on this, because we've been anticipating this for a while. Progress report for August 2022 is that we have the city support. Our rezone is based on the draft OCP. It's potential for a shorter timeline because we've done a lot of work in advance with these conversations. There is a potential for some reduced costs just based on the new lending structure we can get on the properties, and if we're able to complete this in a shorter amount of time. But everything's on track. Everything's on budget. We're full steam ahead on the project, and we're not just telling you about something that we're thinking of doing. We're doing it. We are halfway through this project, and everything is trugging along exactly where we intended it to be. So we're happy to report that getting involved now would be just like getting involved at the beginning. Everything is the same, if not better, because we've got more information that fully supports everything that we're doing right now. So phase 2 would be the build out. So the future of Price Place build out would be more about the like I said, about the actual construction of the project, but we won't have that set up until we know what the city is going to approve. So we're not going to be building it. If we build it, we will not be building it ourselves. We are not general contractors. So we will be partnering with a general contractor who has a vast amount of experience in building multifamily, mid and low rise buildings. That's a no-brainer. That's not our area of expertise. We're going to be giving it to the professionals to do that. But phase 1 partners that are involved in the initial phase of this project will have the option to go into the construction and development. And anything could happen with these properties. We could sell one of the sites and keep one of the sites. We could sell both of the sites, or we could keep both of the sites. We don't know what the plan is, but what we do know is that everybody will have the option at the end to opt into phase 2, which will be a new tranche of funds to build out, and will be a new investment structure based on what we find out throughout the first phase here. So that'll be acquiring the construction financing, completing the build out, and ultimately having 2 purpose-built multifamily rental buildings, which we couldn't be more excited about. And this is just to give you an indication of the actual build out. So this is just a super quick rendering of what the current zoning allows. So this is, if we didn't go through the rezoning process at all, when we acquired these these houses back in November, we could have filed immediately for a development application, a development permit, and a building permit to build what you're looking at right there, which is a 4-story building, 50% lot coverage, and a 1.2 to 1.6 FSR. That's your medium density. But that's not what we're planning to do. So the current heavy or high density zoning allows for 70% lot coverage with a 2.4 to 3 FSR, and the draft OCP, it's right now in the OCP is 5 stories, but the draft OCP is looking for 6, plus they may even allow an additional they may allow 6 habitable stories with an additional level of parking. That is yet to be determined. It was in discussions, not sure how that's going to wind up, but what we do know is that they fully support the 6. And so that's the site again, and this is just an overlay of the renderings we have so far, just to give you a quick indication of what that site's going to look like as soon as we get those buildings on there, and we couldn't be more excited. But those designs have majority of 1-bedroom units and are likely going to incorporate some kind of bachelor and micro. We know the city wants some 2 and 3 bedrooms on there as well. And we're going to be talking with BC Housing to see if there's going to be a component there to add for the affordable level. And then we're going to have 1, maybe 1.5 to 2 levels of parking, depending on where we're at. So that's Price Place in a wrap, guys. I'm pitching this because it's one of the deals we're most excited about. It's coming to fruition. We're going to be having a building site here very likely in the next 12 to 18 months. We could, as long as everything keeps going in the direction it's going, we could have shovels in the ground like early 2024. That is, once we get all of our pieces in place next year for the new investment structure. So if you want to get involved, there's obviously different types of investors out there as far as the BC regulations and the BC securities and regulations are concerned. This is by far Klint's area of expertise. And I'm just going to review it just in case some of you aren't aware of that. But there's accredited investors who basically have no limits on participation. They can sort of pick and choose where they want to invest and when they want to invest. And those are individuals that have at least $1 million in net financial securities, cash and securities, so liquid cash or securities. They either earn more than $200,000 per year on their own, or a combined $300,000 with their spouse, or they have a $5 million net worth, and that would include assets, real estate, like non-liquid assets, like real estates and business value. So that's the quick and dirty for the accredited investors. And if you don't have an offering memorandum in place on your projects, then you can't do any business with anybody except accredited investors. The good news is we have put an offering memorandum in place, and we have Klint Rodgers with Axcess Capital. So this is open to everybody, and that's why we're doing this pitch. So non-accredited investors is basically the opposite of all those. If you don't hit those marks on the accredited investor, then you are a non-accredited investor, and you should be only participating in deals that have an offering memorandum, or of course, if you're operating your own deal or you're in a very small joint venture. Those are kind of the only times you can get involved. But the participation limits vary province by province. There's no real restrictions within BC, but there are within most of the other ones. Again, this is not my world. This is where I'd be sending you to Klint. Klint would be having those discussions. This is just for information so that you can understand a little bit more. There's a bit of eligibility information on here, but again, I won't get too much into it. But an exempt market dealer is our key to accepting capital from non-accredited investors and accredited investors abroad. We're working with Axcess to get everybody involved and through that so that we can stay on side. We don't want to be raising capital because we want to be out doing the deals. We're just here to present our deal, and we don't want to be the gatekeepers. We just want to make sure everybody's on side. And that's exactly why we're working with an ace like Klint, because he's been in this game for a very, very long time. He's seen it all. He's been out, boots on the ground to see our projects. He's actually walked Price Place. He's looked at our other projects. And I even had the pleasure of having him over at my house and having a little campfire. And that was really where he was interviewing me to make sure I was a good person and that he was willing to actually do business with me. So thankful to say we're here, and we wouldn't be doing this presentation if we didn't feel good about where we're headed. And that's where we're at on that one. Just a quick overview, the current projects we have: Price Place Land Assembly, two multifamily buildings, that 150 acres of bare land. That's going to be the subdivision in the Cowichan Valley, not released to the public at all yet. Nanaimo, BC, we've got a 6-acre industrial site, and we've got that 14-acre multifamily project in Nanaimo. Those are all just for information. Honestly, those are massive developments that are going to have a whole structure to themselves, and we're excited to get them going. But if you couldn't tell, we love Vancouver Island, love being here. We're not going anywhere. And we hope that we are your first phone call when thinking about investing here. And I'm just going to give a little bit of a sneak here. Traditionally, this deal has not been open to RSPs, and that's because we are not registered as an RSP mutual fund. We don't have that ability, and we haven't traditionally. We do think that there is going to be a way for us to get RSP money in the door here through another registered fund that we're looking to partner with. I'm not going to say any more about that other than I think within the next 30 to 45 days, this is going to be completely wiped out, and we are going to have this filled and be moving on to the next project. And I don't know when our next development project like this is going to be available, and we want everybody to get involved so you can get to know us. We feel very good about this. It's going to be a successful project, and this is going to set the bar for all of the developments we're doing in the future. So go to our website, register, topdowninvestments.com. You'll get updates for every single one of our deals in live time. You can go to our social media and follow us on Facebook and YouTube and all that fun stuff as well. And just wanted to wrap it at that and appreciate everybody's attention. I know you're probably getting webinar fatigue. We're getting a little webinar fatigue as well. I can't wait to start getting a lot more in-person events. And just wanted to let you guys know that we're here for you anytime. But if you have any questions, let me know. And if you don't, that's all good. This is going to be recorded. We'll send it out. You guys know how to get a hold of us. So it's all good. So I think we're just going to end it at that. And like I say, be sure to go register on our website, topdowninvestments.com. Appreciate everybody's time. Hope you're doing well. Take care now.